Alexander the Great is Prophet Solomon, the second part. Neutrality in the historian Plutarch, AD 46 to 119, was not neutral in conveying the truth about the Macedonians and Ptolemies in Egypt, led by Philip of Macedon and Alexander the Great, whom he intentionally depicted as homosexuals, as well as Antony and Cleopatra. Instead, he deliberately insulted them, Philip of Macedon and Alexander the Great destroyed the city of Kyrenia near Delphi in Greece, which refused to join the union with the Hellas or the Israelites. As a result, Plutarch was portrayed as an opponent and conveyed a false image of these people. David's star and Philip's star. The prophet David has an emblem, which is the star on the flag of the state of Israel. But what you do not know is that this star is modern, and its first appearance was in the 3rd century AD, meaning that it is modern. It was supposed to be in the 10th century BC. And this is the date of the prophet David that was determined by religious history. As for the star of Philip the Macedonian, it dates to the 3rd century AD and is present on the floor of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Palestine and in the Western and Eastern churches, most notably the Vatican. Universal sovereignty between the prophet Solomon and Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great corresponds to the prophet Solomon in the Great Kingdom. The Torah, First Book of Kings, chapter 10. So, King Solomon excelled above all the kings of the earth in riches and wisdom. 24. And the whole land was eager for the face of Solomon, to hear his wisdom, which God had put in his heart. 25. And they brought each man his own gift, articles of silver, articles of gold, garments, armor, and spices, and horses and mules, year after year. 26. And Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen, and he had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, and he stationed them in the chariot cities and with the for you in Jerusalem. 27. And the king made silver in Jerusalem like stones, and he made cedar trees in abundance like the sycamores that are in the plain. Prophet Suleiman's supplication in the Quran. He said, My Lord, forgive me and grant me a kingdom such as will not belong to anyone after me. Indeed, you are the bestower. Chapter 38, Sad. Alexander the Great in the Temple of Ammonius, Egypt. Plutarch the historian, when Alexander had passed through the desert, and was come to the place of the oracle, the prophet of Ammon gave him salutation from the god as from a father, whereupon Alexander asked him whether any of the murderers of his father had escaped him. To this the prophet answered by bidding him be guarded in his speech, since he was not a mortal father. Alexander therefore changed the form of his question and asked whether the murderers of Philip had all been punished. And then, regarding his own empire, he asked whether it was given to him to become Lord and Master of all mankind. The god gave answer that this was given to him, and that Philip was fully avenged. Then Alexander made splendid offerings to the god and gave his priests large gifts of money. The prophet David and Philip of Macedon both suffered injuries to their eyes in battle. Torah, 2 Samuel 5:6, and the king and his men went to Jerusalem to meet the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, who had spoken to David, saying, Unless you remove the blind and the lame, do not come in here, thinking that David cannot come here. The Aramaic Bible in plain English, the text was facing David himself, meaning that he would not enter this place until he was cured of blindness and lameness, because he had an injury to one of his eyes. The state of Hebron and the city of David in religious history. It is matched by the state of Macedonia and the city of Philippi in general history. Torah, 2 Samuel 5:5. In Hebron, he reigned over Judah for 7 years and 6 months. And in Jerusalem he reigned over all Israel and Judah for 33 years, 2 Samuel 5:5. Likewise, in general history, Philip of Macedon was king of Macedonia and then became king of Hellas. The city of David and the city of Philippi, both David and Philip of Macedon have cities named after them. Philippi, a Macedonian city, fits the description of the Torah. unlike David, which does not because it lacks a river or lake. 2 Chronicles 32. The same Hezekiah also stopped the water outlet of Upper Gihon, and brought the water by tunnel to the west side of the city of David. Hezekiah prospered in all his works, / there is still a lot to talk about. Hesham Taher.